So, welcome back to another episode of Coffee, Config, and Chaos. I'm Jerry Wong.
And I'm Andrew Robinson. And today's special guest is an earthling father, retired IT professional, podcaster, author, martial artist. The list goes on. The man, the myth, the legend that is Chuck Tomasi.
That was
Welcome to
straight out
this
of my
show.
email signature.
Oh, well, we didn't take that from your email signature.
I left off Earthling until about 2017. We were at the total eclipse up in Wyoming, and we were talking to astronomer astrophysicist lady, and she said, "Why don't you have Earthling on there?" Because I was doing an interview with her at the time, and when we were communicating, I said, that's probably the broadest paintbrush you can paint. Is everybody should have that on their email signature. Doesn't matter who else you are. We're all Earthlings. We're all human beings. We should treat it as such.
Oh, definitely. Well, welcome to the show. Do you know what? It has been sort of like it's my absolute honor to have you on here, simply because, you've done the YouTube videos, you've done the podcast, essentially anything to do with ServiceNow, you've done it. You've been there, you've seen it.
Well, thank you. It's my honor to be on your show.
You as well, Chuck, coming on, because I remember when I first started in ServiceNow, was one of your first videos I kind of watched as well, like learn JavaScript and all the other videos that you did. So yeah, it's an honor to have you on the show, Chuck.
Thank you.
So I will ask you some quick brew unexpected starts questions.
All right.
So,
see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Chuck. So, if the Chuck we see today met Chuck who first started in technology, what would surprise the past you the most?
I still have my hair. My dad has male pattern baldness somewhere between 40 and 50. He lost some of his, stuff on top. I have two brothers who about the same age. Third brother pretty much shaved his head, so I'm not sure what he's got left. and being the fourth one, I think I'm winning. I'm 60 and I still have hair. It's a little thinner, but little gray around the sides, which makes people fool the age when they go, "You're not 60." Like, you want to see my driver's license? Yes, I am. It's like, take a look.
Yeah, I've got evidence here. Do you get ID to buy anything else? Like,
well, now is ID for alcohol, and it's almost a compliment at this age. Like, you have to. I'm sorry. It's like, all right, as long as you don't look at the license and go, "Oh my God."
Chuck, you're 60. Wow. What is your secret? Like, is it, I don't know. Do you drink almond oil or something?
My mom was considerably younger she looked younger than she was, even when she got into her 80s. Bless her, she made it to 90, passed away last May, right before knowledge. Thankfully, I didn't have to go and deal with the commotion of the conference and the grieving. And, but, I credit her. I got a lot of things from her, and a few less wrinkles are not such a bad thing. I did have one lady about a few years ago. I'm walking, I think it was Knowledge 2018. I was going through one of the shops in Vegas, and the lady says, "Oh, would you like to try our makeup to reduce the bags under your eyes?" Whatever it was. And I said, I got nothing else happening this afternoon. Sure, why not? So they put this stuff on that feels like glue that dries and sort of reduces the wrinkles. Of course, they only do it on one side. So, you have to buy the other side if you don't want to look like, Quasimodo or something. And she said, I think the topic of age came up, and she looked at my neck and guessed pretty damn close. She was within a year. I was like,
wow.
If I got, and I realized it because I was looking down at my iPad one day, and I went, "Oh my gosh, I've got old man neck. The chicken neck is starting to form." So I'm not, depending on where you tend to focus, you may see different ages.
That's really interesting.
That did not come out right at all.
So, Doug, was there ever a moment when you thought, "I don't belong here," and how did you push through that?
That line always makes me think of the song "Creep" by Radiohead. I don't belong here. I can't think of too many because I always found myself in a situation that I felt I did belong, or somebody saw something in me that I can then fit into. There was probably the one that comes to mind when I was in high school. They had this competition between the different local high schools. So ages or grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. And they called it High School Bowl. And it was a weekly or a monthly thing on the local public broadcast station. And it was an honor to be. I mean, these were the smart kids, and they nominated me, and they said, We would like you to be on High School Bowl." I never made it on TV. I think I went to one of the meetings and went, "I am way out of my depth here." I mean, these are the people who have, the Declaration of Independence and Dante's Inferno memorized. I got nothing. What am I bringing to the table here? A little comic relief? That isn't gonna maybe the ratings would have gone up. I don't know. But that I felt I was out of my depth and went, "Yeah, I'm not high school bowl material," with when your GPA, the grade point average is, 0 through 4, and, I was in the lower to mid 3s, and you really gotta be closer to 4.0 to be on this show, and I went I have friends that are on there, so I still keep in touch with them. It's like, "Rob did a great job,"
Mhm.
but not me. So that was it was eye-opening and uncomfortable, but at a young age where I could certainly, appreciate it and learn from it.
So when you was at that young age, what would I suppose what were the qualities that you've learned that you've carried on in terms of your later life?
Oh, yeah, probably just being respectable and friendly to everyone I meet.
Mhm.
I learned in high school, I had, like, auto mechanics the first 2 hours of my day, and then went to advanced, I don't know, physics or trigonometry or something. So I was trying to not ingratiate myself, but just be friends, make as many friends as I could throughout the spectrum of students, no matter what their
Mm,
interests were. I wanted to be interested in that too, because it would expose me to things that I didn't know before. And who knows, years later, that may pay dividends. I was out driving my car, I got stuck in the mud, and who did I call? Scott. Well, he was also in all 4 of those 3 of those same classes too, and, Scott came with his big truck and pulled me out of the mud. So just having this network of people that, you can share and give and maybe receive occasionally is something I learned at an early age, and I think I get a lot of that from my dad. He was very outgoing and friendly and open and smiling.
mhm.
I still use one of his lines when I meet new people, especially if they're out of context. We'll be on a trip to the Grand Canyon or something, and we'll meet somebody and go, "What do you do in real life?" Because obviously hanging out at the Grand Canyon isn't real life unless you're the park ranger, but then they're wearing the hat and uniform, so I obviously know what they do in real
Yeah.
life.
That's great. No, and like I said, I think you've in your many years, I think you've taught obviously so many people how to develop and build.
Yeah.
But what is something that you've built that no one really knows about?
I That's a hard one because pretty much everything I build, I tend to share with somebody, even if it's my wife. I'm going, "I'm making a pagination routine. You gotta check this out." It's like, "Do you have a use for this?" "No, I just made it because it's fun. I might need it." Uh, but there's a lot of things that are single use that I build.
Yeah.
Um, I'm the developer, I'm the end user, I'm, the requirements gatherer, I'm the tester. Everybody on the spectrum is me. So I can switch hats very carefully. It makes decision-making process real quick, but you may not always make the best decisions unless you confer with somebody else. And that's usually when I tend to share with somebody else. I need someone to bounce ideas off of. So oftentimes it's my buddy Craig Stepp, who we've known each other for 20 years. We've been podcasting. He works at ServiceNow. We worked there for well over 10 years. Uh, but a lot of things that I've made like that would be um, integrations. Usually, I've focused my life on the Notion platform, So it's it's
Mm.
it's like almost like a ServiceNow Lite. It's got some light workflows. It's got some database tables that you can throw together really fast. They call them properties instead of fields. But I said, I want to keep track of people in my retirement. So I made a list of contacts. And then I borrowed something from ServiceNow called interactions. Well, when's the last time, if you want to keep in touch with Jerry or Andrew, when's the last time you talked to him? Well, I need an interaction table to tell me that. And then I can make a formula based on the last interaction, things like of that nature. But I also am keeping track of all my projects and tasks. And one of the things that bothers me in most task managers is that calendar events tend to be a task on a project. When is your next project status meeting? When is this project due? When are you releasing? So you put a calendar appointment to go at 10 o'clock. I've got a call with so and so about this project. That's in the calendar, and your project list is over here with tasks on it. So
Mm.
I made an integration from Google Calendar into Notion such that after 10 minutes, as soon as I put something on the calendar, 10 minutes later, I know it's in Notion on the right day with the right information, tied. I usually have to go back and tie it to a project, but that's trivial. But those are the kind of things that I make for fun because I'm sick.
No, that's cool, Chuck. I mean, I have used Notion, but I do want to dab in around integrations and how to be more efficient. Like, as you mentioned, is creating a task, duplicating. Oh, you got to create another Google Calendar event and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something me and Andrew will need to experiment with is integrations with how we do coffee, config, and chaos when we arrange the next guest on our podcast. So no, thanks for sharing that, Chuck.
You're welcome.
It sounds very much like me, that, Chuck, when it comes to integrations. Do you still get that like happy feeling when it works and you get that connection and it finally goes over to the other side and you're like, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's me versus the technology, and the technology is not going to win.
Yes.
I will consume massive hours and forget to feed the cat and ignore a lot of other tasks that I have to do. I was working on some Discord bots in Node.js for the last month, and several other projects have slipped to the sideline, but that's okay. I just take them on the Kanban board and go, well, next week or 2 weeks from now, I'll get that. That's the beauty of retirement is I can shift my projects around unless it's an appointment like this. I was just messing with some code and went, what if I tried this? No, that didn't work. That's horrible. Let's back that out.
And then before, when you said that you bounced ideas off, are you the type of person who talks to somebody and comes to a solution, or is it one of those bouncing ideas where you say, right, I've got this really good idea. You have this conversation with yourself for about 5 minutes and go, oh my God, I know what to do now. Thanks. And the other person's standing there going, yeah, sure. You're welcome.
Usually it's somewhere in there. It's a variety. Sometimes I get ideas from other people and I put them in the backlog. Craig wants the Discord bot to go look at our calendar of events and put those into the Discord channel. Like, great idea. As soon as I'm comfortable enough with the code and the integrations and the APIs and all this, I'll build that because I want to build it right. And I want to understand from my pet projects, a calendar bot, a fridge bot, that kind of thing. What do I need and how can I best implement it? Because like any other language or platform, there's more than one way to do things. And the one thing they don't teach you when you're learning a new technology is how to architect the new technology. So here's an example. And here's another example. I said, no, I want to tie these two together. What do I have torn down my tables and rebuilt them several times in the last month. And it makes me wonder what Fred Luddy, David Liu, Don Goodliff, and Bo Ruggieri did in those early days, like the first year of ServiceNow. How many times did they destroy what they built and refactored it and went, we need to rebuild Glide Record. It's not working. We need one more method. We need to modify the method we've got. Is that going to impact customers? We don't have any customers yet. Good. Go make it happen.
Yeah. It's still in UAT. It's fine.
But yeah, it's been an interesting journey, having fun learning a new technology, but it's not completely foreign because Node.js is JavaScript. So I've got to learn a few more modern things that I never was forced to with ServiceNow. You can do a lot of the ES 12/2021 stuff to do arrow functions and map and all this cool stuff. It's available, and that's great for people who already know it. But I've been doing things the same way for the last 15 years. Well, 17 now. Uh, so I got to retrain my brain, but I'm not opposed to learning something new. That's my goal every day. I get up and then I say, what do I have to do? And what am I going to learn today? When I get to the end of the day, I like to review. What did I learn? What's
Mm.
what happened that I didn't expect? Hopefully it's a good thing, like not a water pipe bursting or something.
So, Chuck, I'm going to ask if you could share with us, do you have a story from your early career that you've never really shared publicly, but it still shapes how you show up today?
Yeah, I do. I don't know what you mean by publicly, but obviously not on a podcast. The my parents played a big impact, obviously, of who I am and how I show up, but so did my siblings. I come from a family of 9, and uh, right after college, I got a job working for the same electronics company as my older brother Rico, and we had lived together for a while in his duplex before I was engaged and hunting for an apartment for my future wife to come down and live with us. She had to finish her last semester of college. And in living with Rico, I learned a lot about how to live with somebody else. Because up until that point, I lived with my parents.
Mhm.
And, when you were told to take out the garbage, you took out the garbage. Well, now you're living with someone else and they won't tell you to take out the garbage. And if they do, it's almost like an affront where, like, okay, we had to lay down whose responsibilities are what. What night are we going grocery shopping? What do you like to eat? What do I like to eat?
Mhm.
Make sure that you wipe down the sink after you brush. And my brother is, I won't call him militant about stuff, but he has a style that's a little more structured, shall we say, than most. Ask any of his 3 daughters. It was funny. He posted, I shouldn't bash on him, but it was just he posted a sign on the bathroom mirror of like the 12 things you need to do. So he was grooming them to be responsible adults as we all should as parents. But he taught me how to show up for work, not on time, but a little bit early, which, isn't such a bad thing. It was sort of that we call it the Midwest work ethic around here. Like, why are you at work at 7:30 when most people don't show up until 9? Because that's when I get a lot of stuff done because nobody's around and my brain is freshest in the morning. And if there's a traffic jam or an accident or a water pipe burst, I don't know why I'm going off on water pipe bursting, but it probably will happen now. The, then I can, take that into account and set expectations that I'm pleased to be here. I take my job seriously, and Rico really helped me with that.
Mhm.
Not that I was irresponsible before, but it was more of a professional thing that he groomed me for. Goodness knows I made plenty of mistakes when I was young too. So thank you for not asking about those.
I'm tempted to ask that now, Chuck.
Well, Chuck, that leads us on to the next section.
So yeah, I'll ask one more question, Chuck, from this section. Is when was the last time you felt like a beginner again?
Um, Pretty much every time some new tech comes out. Yeah, when I switched from iPhone to Android, had to learn all about that. When, anytime there's a new language or a new platform or, you know, learning about Discord. About a month or so ago, I said, "Hey, a lot of podcasts have Discord servers. We should have one." And then I look at
Mhm.
my archives and go, "Oh, we have one." I just never did anything with it since 2017.
Oh
So
wow.
let's dig into this and find out a little bit more and a little bit more. So, you watch the videos are very helpful. I'm a very visual learner in that respect. I like looking at code snippets rather than the raw documentation for the API. It's like, it says it accepts a text builder input object. I'm like, and you click that, and there's no code example. Like, ooh. So, uh, yeah, it, I recently I entertained the thought of backing some of my data with Postgres instead of MySQL. And I looked at it and I said, what's the difference? Watched a number of videos. They did some great comparisons. How do you migrate? Can you migrate? And what's the payoff? What's the benefit? For my project, it really wasn't there. So I, said, no, not today, but at least I have a better awareness of what it is and where the use cases are better suited.
Thank you, Chuck.
Well, this leads us into our next section, which is called Deep Dive. So this is about philosophy, AI, and the human side of tech. So, Chuck, if AI could recreate a Chuck Tomasi digital twin,
Yeah.
what do you reckon it would get wrong about you?
I like how you said if, not when. There's likely to be a when there's a twin. I think it would get some of the creativity wrong. I like to spot. We've talked a lot about software development. That's who I've been for a long time, and that's where my interests lie. And I think it's very empowering to spot an opportunity and go, I can build an app, or I can create a database for that to keep track of it, whether it's, music or contacts or whatever it is, and say, all right, what are my options and how do I accomplish this goal? I find it very empowering. Not the technical aspect. I mean, I use AI to help me with that a lot of times. I mean, just look at Visual Studio Code, Copilot. You type in a comment and it writes the next 20 lines of code. We go tab, 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 tab. But that architecture and ideation and what if I did this and could I do that? And like you said earlier, you're walking along and you get an idea and you go, hey, what if we did this? And there it is. My wife even asked me one time, she says, after you leave ServiceNow, is our house not going to work? Because I had some automation hooked up. I said, no, we'll be fine. We still have good old Amazon Echo that we shall not name by name. But, it's that creativity. You could say in the last, what's it been? Almost 2 years that I started really getting into music. And after learning the basics, the creativity starts to come out and go, hey, I'm just strumming away on chords. I go, that sounds like the beginning of a song. Let me work on that. I know you can use generative AI to make songs. I mean, Anders has been doing it for a while with great success. And I know a few other people that are doing this as well. But I think, again, it's an aid to an idea.
Yeah.
You have to first have the idea. And I don't think AI would get that right, especially with the chaotic way my mind thinks. I mean, generative AI would literally have to be coming up with these ideas in the shower like I do. I need to write this down. I thought of a new lyric for this, a new verse for the song.
Oh, do you know what? That leads me on to where do you find that? I mean, again, this is just off the back of that. Where would you say that you feel most creative? Because some people say they need to go for a walk. Some people, like you just said there, you go for a shower. Where is it that you have your eureka moments and you think, right, I've got it?
Anywhere and everywhere. I mean, it could be at the kitchen table. It could be in the shower. It could be out for a walk. And I make sure that I do my best to have a way to capture them. Again, a lot of it just goes into Notion. And I have a database full of potential song ideas or funny jokes I've heard. It just there's always, if I don't capture it, I'll lose it because by the time I get home from the walk, something else is on my mind. I feel like I live in a very distracting world. I can't even go from the kitchen to the bedroom without noticing a cup that needs putting in the dishwasher. Now the dishwasher needs running, and you've been through that in real life. 30 minutes later, I get to the bedroom and go, now why did I want to get here?
I wanted to do everything but now
Right.
I'm here. Oh, I love that. That's a great response. So do you think that empathy can be taught in tech the same way that we teach APIs and scripting?
Yes, I do, and I think that I am an example of that. When I was much younger, I don't think I was the most empathetic, and I didn't recognize the communication style of other people. Are they more empathetic or are they more factual driven? Do you soften the message or do you stick to the brute force facts and go, Dave, I need this by Tuesday? Because that's the way Dave communicates. Or, you know, Andrew, it's great to see you. Thanks. It's been a long time since we talked. You kind of soften it a little bit because that's the way that Andrew may communicate. I don't know. We haven't communicated a whole lot other than this podcast, but we'll go with that. If you recognize that, you can be more effective in your communication. Because if Dave liked the more personal message, and I said, Dave, when do we get do you I'm not I'm doing this voice unintentionally, but if it's very factual and he's not a very factual, he go, well, that was rather rude. I don't like that message. And then takes a while to respond. And it goes, could you tell me a little bit more about what you need? And now we're just slowing things down. So the empathy, yes. I had to learn it. I I feel I still, may struggle with that, particularly in the spousal area. Marriage is an ongoing journey, and after 37 years, there's always something to improve.
Oh, of course, there's always something new.
Yes, there is.
So you have built a career around helping others, helping others learn. So what's something that you learned a little bit too late?
I don't know if it was too late, but it was fairly late that I wish I'd known sooner. A couple of things. One is how to be more comfortable around executives. When I was young, I felt very uncomfortable. Like, am I going to sound stupid? Do I do it? Why don't they know what I know? Yeah, and oftentimes that's not their job to know what you know, and they need to know what you know. Uh, and it just once you feel comfortable, then you can communicate in a style that works for them.
Yeah.
They like that bottom line up front. Get the summary out quick because their time is very precious. That sort of thing. And I don't think I felt comfortable with that, in the 40 or so years that I had a professional career until maybe the last 10 or so. Uh, I think it might have even been the first job I was in for 22 years versus ServiceNow. And that may have been the transition. It was a different culture. So that could have had an impact on it. The second one is that I learned fairly late that I wish I had known about is the best communication come from peers, not somebody else. For example, uh, yeah, I I'm now 60. Well, when this dawned on me, I think I was about 55. And Lauren McManaman had joined the team and Earl had joined the team. I'm going, wow, they're much younger than me. And I saw what they were producing in terms of content, and it was a different style. Different doesn't mean bad. Different means when we need to engage millennials, I'm not your person. I can't talk TikTok. So, the best communication comes from people who understand that demographic. And I wish I had known that earlier. I could have capitalized or taken advantage of that much sooner. But age creeps up on all of us, and then with age comes wisdom.
So in terms of tech, I mean, what's the most human thing that you've ever seen in a line of code?
The most human thing or the most funniest thing?
Tell you what, actually, yeah, let's go with the most humorous thing that you've seen in a line of code.
I don't think it was intended to be funny, but I considered it funny. Way back in the late 80s when I was a software developer writing some C code in DOS, MS-DOS on a PC, I had created a color background or something, and I said, used it as normal. I just It wasn't dark, it wasn't light, it wasn't white, it wasn't inverse background. It was just called normal. And I did my compile, and the compiler said, "Error 6001, normal undefined." And I thought that was fun. How do you define normal? Yeah, it's in my backlog of T-shirt ideas. I might have normal undefined. It's sort of like, HTTP status 200. Okay, those can be kind of funny, but that was it. Just captured this perspective. I went, you got to read everything with a little bit of personality.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing that I've ever seen in a line of code is I was trolling through a business rule once and I came across the variable rotisserie chicken. And I'm thinking, do you know what? Whoever put that in there meant for me to find it.
I've left comments like, "Don't touch this. I don't know why it works, but when I don't mess with it."
We're gonna find that code now. I'm gonna find these comments, Chuck.
Oh man, there is still code out there that I wrote in the mid '90s that is still running at my old company. You want to talk about technical debt? I haven't been there in 15, almost 16 years. You could replace this whole application. I know you got it containerized now, but you could replace it with like 2 catalog items in ServiceNow. That I don't know why they haven't. And you'd improve your reporting and you'd improve the whole process. But that's a story for another time. I laugh because one of my lifelong friends is still there, and every once in a while he has to maintain that thing. And about 5 years ago, we have a monthly call. They usually go on for 2 or 3 hours because we have a lot to talk about, whether it's marriage or cats or code or whatever. He called me up. He said, "Chuck," the program was called Bits. It was for the bug/issue tracking system.
Mm.
This is before Microsoft called their thing Bits, but I didn't make any royalties off of that. I wanted to open source it. It was all in Perl, mind you.
Oh wow,
Yeah, holy, yeah. So, gives you, hey, I took the Perl book home over Christmas and started writing a ticketing system 30 years
Well, I
ago.
remember seeing the Pearl book when I was studying.
It's not bad, but that's not what it's best at. But I made it work. Anyway, he calls me up. We have our monthly call. He says, "I had to modify the bits code." I said, "Scott, what happened?" He said, "The cookies finally expired." I wrote this code like 20 years earlier, going, we need to pick an expiration date. We won't be using this code in 20 years. Suddenly, no one can log in. Because it doesn't know cookies. And to make it even more fun, the spec for persistent cookies had changed. Somehow I was getting away with a legacy grandfathered specification. I don't know how it worked at all. He said, "Yeah, I had to refactor quite a bit of code." I was on the floor laughing. That was the best time bomb I ever had.
That's fantastic. It's like a little time capsule that he opened. Like I had to go into Bits. You what now? Oh, Bits.
Yeah, that's like opening old Lindbergh cheese.
Yeah. Wow.
So, Chuck, you often use storytelling to teach. So, if you couldn't use words, how would you still teach what you know?
I can't use words at all? Like,
Yeah.
You're still on mute on Zoom kind of thing?
Yeah. So, like,
I would definitely resort to a lot of images.
Hmm.
Because I think I tend to teach abstract concepts. Software is an abstract concept. Try telling somebody about arrays or objects without drawing pictures. So I would resort heavily on images, diagrams, animations, that sort of thing to convey the concepts.
Okay. No, great response.
Okay, Chuck, we're in the next section, which is Chaos Corner, the vulnerable truth.
The rest hasn't been chaos?
We're getting more chaos. We're gonna be into the more chaos mode later.
Chaos would be a great name for an operating system, K/OS, but no one would ever buy anything called chaos.
We'll be first.
I like the sound of that. I'm coining.
Yeah.
It looks good on
trademark it.
Until somebody has to say it. Have you upgraded your chaos? Yes, I have.
How has it been? It's been chaos.
It's total chaos.
Yeah.
What would we name the versions for that operating system? Sanity, confusion,
Oh, that'd be epic. Yeah, all the different instant versions that we could. Yeah. So, Jack, what's a failure or mistake that still make you smile because of what it taught you?
Does it still make me smile?
Yeah.
Well, the mistake would be not staying in touch with people that I meant to. Yeah. Again, with age comes wisdom, and with age also comes the fact that some of your friends and family aren't around anymore.
Mm.
But I have learned from that, and I'm doing my darndest, as I alluded to before, by keeping in touch with people. Had a call Saturday with one of my cousins on my mother's side, and we saw each other in a group setting. We had a family reunion back in 2006. So I really haven't seen him for almost 20 years. And before that, it was at least another 20 before that. So we had a wonderful discussion for an hour. What's his family been doing? What's my family been doing? Memories that he's got about my mother. And it was a very nice call. And that put a smile on my face for the rest of the day.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think it's it's so important to stay in touch with people, because sometimes you could get on well and have those conversations, but then life goes on, and you're busy with life, and the next day, oh, how's that person been doing? I haven't been in touch. And then
Right.
once you get in touch with them, either you have a sort of relationship where you can just pick up, and maybe like 10 years have gone past, and you pick up, it's like, yep, nothing, we haven't had any time apart. Or you get the other side of, yeah, you just don't, you've lost out of touch, but you don't really speak to each other anymore.
And that happens,
Yeah.
people go in different directions. But I just saw a LinkedIn anniversary for someone I knew in the early 90s. We both
Hmm.
ran electronic dial-up bulletin boards, if you
Oh,
remember or know what
wow.
those are. I haven't talked to him much since then, but his anniversary came up and said, "Hey, Todd, happy anniversary. We should really have a call."
Yeah, they're all the good memories will come back once you
Yeah.
spot someone that you haven't spoken to for a while. And again, yeah, like I said, I always, with life, I've got obviously a young family, and you get so busy that
It's a
you think,
priority.
oh,
Absolutely, and I respect that. You don't have time for those second maybe, but third, those tertiary relationships.
mm,
Uh, but don't forget about them. Start making your
yeah,
list while you can. And in today's connected society, there's really no excuse. I mean, it used to be when I was younger, if somebody moved and they didn't give you your postal address, you're out of touch. They're gone. Or if they moved and all you had was a phone number, good luck. Now people keep their same phone number no matter where they go. I've got a Wisconsin phone number for the last 11 years, and I live in Arizona. So,
oh,
it's much
wow,
easier. And if I don't know how to get in touch with, my cousin Jared over in Japan, I know that his brother Jeff can give me his information.
sure, yeah,
So you're never more than a degree or two away from that info. And obviously you want to be respectful and say, Jared, could you ask, Jeff, could you ask Jared to share his information with me? I
mm,
just, you don't want to be giving away information that
no,
people,
no,
I don't like Chuck. Don't give him my phone number.
Tell him I'm not living here anymore.
Right?
that's
That's
it.
why I moved to freaking Japan.
I can't get away.
Now I gotta go somewhere else. Don't tell Chuck where I went.
That's it.
Chuck, he's gone to New Zealand.
I'm on my way.
Why are you ducking me, Jared?
So, the next question, Chuck, is how do you handle the weight of being the voice for so many developers, and does that pressure ever get heavy?
Interesting question, because I really don't see it that way. I don't see myself as the voice of uh, developers or ServiceNow. I respect that people think of me in that light, and I
Mhm.
appreciate it very much. Uh, but I've never felt like a celebrity. I just feel like a developer who turned on a camera one day and started sharing his thoughts. Look what I found. Look what I learned. Let me help you avoid the mistakes that I made. And people appreciated that. And for that I am eternally grateful, because I didn't if I knew that there was a developer advocate position, 30, 40 years ago, Oh, I would have gone to that.
Mm.
It would have been very expensive back in the 80s, but and there probably would have been anybody listening because there were no podcasts or YouTube back then.
Yeah.
But to uh, to be able to have that opportunity, and I wouldn't say get in on the ground floor because, well, podcasting I kind of got in on the ground floor, but
Mhm.
uh, I I just feel very appreciative that people see me in that way. I look at myself as I am a voice in a community, and I know that that community has boundaries. Uh, you know, I always say, when I go to a conference or a developer meetup, ServiceNow thing, I feel like a celebrity. Everybody treats me like one, and I appreciate that. We'll take selfies, and I'm happy to do that. Uh, but when I get to go home and nobody recognizes me at the grocery store. Take that, Ryan Reynolds. Or take
Or,
that,
or
Idris Elba. You can't go to the grocery store.
well, that's it. You're just gonna get spotted, and yeah, signatures or autographs or
Right.
pictures. I remember going to the World Forum in London. Was it when was it back in? I'm sure it was in 2023 or something around that time. I saw you, Chuck, in London, and the queue of people asking you for selfies.
We
I was
we
one of
decided
them.
we decided to finally count at Knowledge 24 because everybody asked, "How many selfies do you get?" I said, "I don't know." So I loaded up an app on my phone that said, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And every time someone would take a picture, I'd go, click, +1. The problem was they came in batches. So we'd have to count because somebody goes, "Oh, can I get a selfie?" And then boom, like sharks to chum, we'd have 15 or 17 more. And I go, Donna, my wife was there. Donna, was that 16 or 17? I don't know. Just put a bunch down. Yeah, we get to the end of the week, and I think it was like 540.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
now, some of that was on purpose because we had that photo op of all the dev advocates that one
Mhm.
morning said, "Hey, come take pictures." So it was like count, 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 count. I just gave my phone to my wife, and I go, "Here, you keep pushing the button."
Yeah, well, I remember that because I came in the morning and got a picture of you, Chuck. Yeah. So thank you for that. I was like you said, I think being obviously when we're being developers or being in the ServiceNow community, we do see you as the celebrity within ServiceNow, and that's someone we look up to. I'm sure Andrew, you don't mind saying that, but it's someone that we look up to. Say we aspire to be sort of be able to share knowledge and share within the community because you're sort of that person of very much of friendly. You're able to share and having that charisma as well. Really, kind of taught us really as well within the community, and it's kind of sets that bar as well, Chuck, of how to be be a really kind of good person.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, my energy comes from you. I remember it was knowledge 22 or 23, whatever
Mhm.
it was, and I had one of the typical 16, 18-hour days. And partway through, my boss says, "Chuck, why don't you go upstairs and take a nap?" I said, "'Cause I won't get up." I said, "This is my fuel." When someone comes up and asks for a selfie, the minute that stops, I start to feel drained and go, "Whew, I gotta walk around." I don't do caffeine, so
Mm,
I need my energy from somewhere else, and it comes from being around other people. I'm energized by their
yeah,
enthusiasm. What are you doing? What are you working on? What challenges do you have? What have you learned? Tell me about you. Tell me about your family. Where are you from? I just I guess I like to collect that information
yeah,
and give back. As far as the sharing of information, that's a debt that I have felt uh, from my technical consultant when I was a customer, who was very gracious in sharing and learning and giving his time. I don't know if he actually billed for all those billable hours, but that was something that I greatly appreciated. And that even goes back further because I found out little random ServiceNow story. Fred Luddy, his first job was with Amdahl Computers. They don't exist anymore, obviously, but
mhm,
Gene Amdahl founded a computer company in the late 60s, 70s. So a young, fresh faced Fred Luddy learned from Gene about the corporate culture, and it was very open and sharing, and he brought that to ServiceNow, and that's just something that I felt was a responsibility, but never a pressure, never a commitment. It just
Mhm.
came naturally, and feel very fortunate to be able to, keep that going, and understand that's still a thing long after I'm gone. So that's cool. That's uh,
Wow, thank you, Chuck, for sharing that. Yeah,
I
thank
also
you.
found out from a Uber driver in Santa Clara that the one of the buildings, they just built it like in 2019, 2020, is on the same spot that Gene Amdahl had one of his buildings. Went, wow,
Oh
that's
wow,
full circle.
wow, yeah, that's impressive. That's a really good story. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Well, I just wanted to add something. Obviously, just to echo what Jerry said. I mean, your work that you've done within the ServiceNow community. I mean, you know, it's absolutely staggering, and it really is a testament to everything that you've done. Because everywhere that I've ever worked, like whether it be in banking, whether it be insurance, whether it be in medical, everybody's heard about you. So everybody's got a story to tell about you, whether it be taking selfies at the World Forum, or like even somebody who I used to work with said, "Oh yeah, I've spoken to Chuck. I was on the ServiceNow community, and he said my idea was really good." So just it's little things like that. So I mean, and you really have influenced like an entire generation of people. I mean, even like I remember like when I was learning JavaScript, the first thing somebody told me is, "Oh, you need to check Chuck's episodes out on YouTube." And I went on there, and like even some of the techniques you use and I still use today. So no, 100%, it's an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you. Thank
And
you.
I think as well, Chuck, even now, when I speak with people in the community, and I know you are still training people up as well, you touch so many people's lives, and you make such a positive impact that they hear about your name, they hear about what you do, and the way that you teach, and the way that you storytell, and that empathy that you mentioned before, it it touches people's hearts, and it really kind of gives them that positivity of, right, what, I really want to learn, I really want to be able to learn, share, and that ethos that you have distilled across the community. I think I felt that, and I felt that across what I've spoken to so many people in the community within the networking. So yeah, hats off to you, Chuck. That's what I would say is, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you're trying to make me cry, you're getting close. So let's move on to the next question.
Oh, okay. Right. Next question is, you spent decades helping people understand
Mhm.
technology, and what's something technology has helped you understand about yourself?
Um, that's a tricky question. I would have to say know when to seek help.
Mhm.
There's a point where you want to feel proud for accomplishing something, whether it's solving this particular code snippet, or putting these two things together, or just figuring out how to arrange icons fun on your phone. Just there's some sense of accomplishment in that. And there gets to be a point where you have to know when to reach out for help, whether that's generative AI, help me with this code snippet, or help me understand what does this error message even mean? Or you talk to your friends who may have a fresh insight. I don't know if I've told this story recently, but I was working on some ServiceNow code for Knowledge 17, and I was putting together sort of this little app to help organize office parties, whether it's Beth's baby shower, or free donut Friday, whatever. You made events, and there were people who would say, I want to go to that. It was like a little meetup.com kind of thing, but in
Mm,
ServiceNow. And it was a scoped app, so I didn't have to use U underscore on all the fields. And I named one of the fields event. Well, it got down to the part where I was creating the email notification, and I did the dollar curly brace event, and it just freaked out because event is a reserved word.
Yeah.
And I went around and around on this for hours going,
mm,
that's the field name. Deal with it. Kind of doing that sort of thing to my code on the screen.
mm,
And I could not figure it out. My wife, who I met in college when we were going for computer science degrees. She took a different path more into the business and finance, and I took a path into more technical areas. She walks up and within about 30 seconds, she goes, "Is that a reserved word?" And I just went, "Yes. Let's go rename the field and this will work just fine." So it was the one of the few instances where I created a field in a scoped app with a U underscore because I really wanted to use that word event.
No, thanks for sharing that, Chuck. So what chaos moment in your life, not just work, changed the way you lead, create, or connect?
Uh, haven't had too many. My wife and I talk about this too a lot because we feel very fortunate in our marriage that we haven't had these major catastrophes. It's not like our house got blown away in a tornado and we have to start over.
Mm.
But I'd say the closest that came was when I was diagnosed with cancer in 2018. I had prostate cancer, and we were literally sitting in the doctor's office, and he said, "Well, I'll why don't we schedule an appointment when you had time to think about the treatment option?" I said, "No thinking needed. We're taking that out now." He said, "Well, you have to wait 6 weeks after the biopsy, blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
And that really changed who I am as a person. I know it may sound cliche,
Hmm.
but I became a lot more sensitive. Uh, it seems like I will be more open to, emotional, not outbursts, but,
Yeah.
when I said, "You're about to make me cry," I was serious, and people go, "You're gonna cry because they're asking you a bunch of questions and giving you accolades?" Like, yeah, it means a lot more when you realize what your life is worth.
Hmm.
Case in point, I was home recovering after the surgery in February of 2018, and I got an email from my boss's boss, and it said, "Chuck, take whatever time you need. We've got you covered." And I broke down in tears. I said, I was not expecting people to, care that much. I expected more of, "Hey, when can we expect you back? You know, how much time do you need?" Not not take what you need. And, the outpouring of support from people at church. Uh, my nephews sent me this little video. Well, my brother sent it of my nephews, and they were sent me a get well message video, and I lost it for like 30 minutes. I was just a
Yeah.
bag of tears using up tissues. Uh, so it's made me a lot more sensitive, and that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as it doesn't come out at the wrong times. But I feel that that has been a major change in the way that I show up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck. No, thanks for sharing that. And again, I can understand, having, like I said, you've gone through cancer because also my dad went through cancer as well, and it hits yourself, but it hits the family as well. So,
Yeah.
and
Oh, absolutely. I've
yeah.
got, a family member, in-law that is going through chemo. Thankfully, it's going very well.
Hmm.
I've got a lifelong friend who is going through chemo, and he already dealt with throat cancer. So he's on his
Oh, wow.
second cancer, and
Yeah.
it's not going so well. We're supposed to talk later today, but he said, "I might not be able to talk." He sends me this text on Saturday. He said, "I might
Hmm.
not be able to talk Monday because I've got to go in for, something." I'm like, "Oh, man," and, you know, that's that's what hurts.
Yeah.
Is when people close to you
Yeah.
are affected.
Yeah.
And what I went through it's a different experience, but I am open to anyone. That's the other you've already deduced that I am a learn and share person.
Hmm.
I think it even says on my website, but that's not exclusive to JavaScript. If
Yeah.
if there's another man out there that is going through or has been diagnosed, there's things that I will talk to you about that your doctor probably wouldn't. Let's share. Sometimes it's just nice to have a sympathetic ear to
Yeah,
go,
of course.
uh, I raise my hand. I will be that person if anybody needs it because I know what it's like. I had an old friend who was also going through his treatment a few weeks after me. and we were texting on a daily basis and calling on a weekly basis and go, "Hey, how did this? What did your doctor say?" And that was so nice to have that support that I could reach out to somebody going through the same kind of thing. Uh, that I'm here if anybody needs me for that capacity as well.
Oh, thank you, Chuck. Yeah, and absolutely, I totally agree with you. You know, if you're going through that, diagnosis or treatment, you're not on your own. There's always people out there to
Right.
support you. Yeah,
It feels like a very personal thing that you have to deal with.
yeah,
Don't. There's no value in keeping it to yourself.
And can I just say as well, because the worst place you can be in a moment like that is in your own head.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, it messes with your head as much as your body.
yeah.
going
Absolutely.
down the rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then even afterwards, I've been cancer free for 7.5 years.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, whatever good fortune you want. But it will mess with you. It's like every time, I get a hip pain or, this weird ache in my thigh, I'm like, could it be? You can't help but think, I had it once, maybe it's not all gone. But you can't let that rule your life either. But it's always there in the back of your mind as a possibility. Yeah, I look at to my friend Mark. He's like, is his throat cancer related to his carcinoma? Maybe. Let's hope not. But it's. Are we allowed to swear on this show?
Fire away.
Fire away, Chuck.
Fuck cancer.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Right, last question from me, Chuck, is again, have you ever had to rebuild yourself the same way you rebuild a broken workflow?
No, I wouldn't say so because we didn't have that rebuilding process at any point in our lives. I mean, even the cancer thing was more of an adapt and move on. Learn from it, grow from it, and I did just rebuild 6 Discord bots, so I got tables and all. That was. I'm not afraid to sit there on a Friday afternoon and go, these tables are all wrong. I don't want to rebuild my data model, but I have to, or I'll never be satisfied with myself. And if anybody ever sees this code in real life, I would be ashamed. So I don't want to put that out there.
Oh, I love it, Chuck.
So this leads us on to the next section.
All right.
Music. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and it's basically the first word that comes to your head. So, coffee or tea?
Tea, herbal.
One word that sums up the ServiceNow community.
Sharing.
Favorite ServiceNow release?
The latest. I always like the new features. I gotta see what's new.
Zurich is that the latest one, isn't it? Yeah.
Zurich is the latest as of the time of this recording, but when Australia comes out, that'll be my favorite. I'm not going to be one to go, oh, Helsinki was great, because it's a bit like looking back in history and saying that was the greatest time. Yeah, for who?
Favorite Star Trek character? Now, if it's not Andrew Robinson, we're gonna have to cut this interview short.
Short. We've been here for an hour. It's Andrew Robinson, the character that plays Eric on Deep Space Nine. How's that?
I knew it.
And I told him as much.
Now Assist or ChatGPT?
I'd have to say ChatGPT. Actually, I'm more of a Gemini person, but I haven't had a lot of access to Now Assist, so I haven't had a lot of chance to experience what it can do for me. It's not available on PDIs. I know that's been an ongoing battle, and I could have explored it a bit more. I did a few early code snippet things when they had the code assist built in when in Vancouver, I believe it was. But I really didn't have a chance to explore it much beyond that. So I can't speak to that as being better or worse. But today I'm heavily using Gemini and VS Code's Code Pilot for a lot of my development as assisting me. So I like those. It's amazing how powerful they are.
Okay, brilliant, great answers. So before we wrap up this this interview, we've got our favorite part of the show, and it's called Brew It Forward.
So, Chuck, this is your chance to give a shout out to someone in the ServiceNow ecosystem who's made a difference to you. Maybe they've inspired you, they supported your journey, but they've all just been an all good human.
So who would you like to brew it forward to?
Wow. Mark Stanger. He was very instrumental. He had in my early days for providing answers. We worked. I think we worked together for a while. I started in 2010, and I think he left around 2012-ish. We weren't on any of the same projects, but he's always had that kind of community feeling, like, here's something you might find useful. And later he did come back and work in the training department. I don't know if he's still there or not, but more behind the scenes. He was the guy behind ServiceNowGuru.com. So
Okay.
a lot of people know and respect him from that. He's no longer involved with that as far as I know. But Mark has always been an all-around good guy. We've seen each other a number of times at conferences, shake hands, get a selfie, say hi, and don't see each other for another year.
Do you know when I first started using ServiceNow and I more or less lived on the ServiceNow community? I remember this day. He was the very first person who came back to me with my very first question. And I think it was something silly like just updating a field from basically updating a field dependency from one value to another. And he was the very first person who came back to us. It's so funny that you say that.
There's something about those early days when silly answers worked.
Yeah.
I did something similar back in like 2008, 2009. I was a customer and I posted something. It wasn't even it was like the forums back then. It wasn't even the community. And Don Goodliff, one of the founding forefathers of ServiceNow, responded. And I said, "Hey, Don, would it be possible to get on a call and discuss this?" He goes, "No, we're not allowed to do that. We're just developers locked in a dark basement with no windows." And I still have a screenshot of that, thanks to Suzanne Smith for providing that, because I forgot all about it. But if I ever need to smile and remember, it's not all about the technical stuff. You can throw a little personality in there. Feel free. Just know your audience. Okay. So not everybody may think things are funny.
Oh, thanks, Chuck. Well, I love that, and obviously we'll make sure we'll tag. Is it Mark? Did you mention
Mark Stanger? Yeah, there's a whole lot of people who that was a tough decision, but that's what came to mind.
We'll make sure we'll tag them in this episode, and who knows? Maybe they will be sitting here, and we'll speak with them.
So, Chuck,
sorry about everybody else I didn't mention. You're going around in the wheel really fast. It was like, spin the wheel. It lands on Mark Stanger.
So, Chuck, it's been an absolute masterclass. From building community to embracing chaos, you've shown that curiosity really is the ultimate career superpower.
And Chuck, what really shines through is your consistency for creating, sharing, and mentoring, and while keeping the authentic passion for learning alive.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
So, for everyone listening, if Chuck's story has inspired you to explore, create, or just try something new, share this episode and keep this conversation going. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to join Coffee, Config, and Chaos. The Coffee, Config, and Chaos group on LinkedIn.
So real work. Yep. Chuck's endorsed it. So it's real work, real learnings, real people, and that's Coffee, Config, and Chaos. And see you next time.